Kirby was a small, pink, and wonderfully round fellow. He loved to play, he loved to eat, and he loved his best friend Boo. Boo was a ghost, a friendly, floaty ghost. Not the scary kind, oh no. He was white and see-through. He giggled more than he spooked. They lived in a colorful little house, a house filled with laughter and games. Their very favorite game was Splatoon. They played Splatoon every single afternoon, on a massive, shiny television screen. The colors would flash, blue, green, orange. Kirby would grab the controller. His stubby pink hands were surprisingly quick. Boo would float excitedly beside him.
Splat that squid, Kirby, over there.
They were an unbeatable team, truly, always covering the most turf with bright ink. Sometimes they would invite other friends, but mostly it was just Kirby and Boo. They understood each other perfectly. A nod from Kirby, a wiggle from Boo. That was all they needed to coordinate. Their living room often looked like a Splatoon map. Imaginary ink splats covered the carpet. In their minds, of course. Their laughter was the best sound. A sound of pure, uncomplicated joy. Today was a special Splatoon day. They were trying to beat their high score. Kirby was focused, his little face serious. Boo zoomed around the room cheering.
You've almost got it, Kirby. Just a bit more.
The digital inklings whizzed across the screen. Splat! Sploosh! Another victory! Kirby jumped up and down, or bounced, really. Boo did a happy loop-the-loop in the air. What a splendid way to spend an afternoon. Suddenly, a peculiar thing happened. The television screen, so bright moments ago, flickered. It sputtered like an old candle. Then, it went completely dark. Pitch black. Kirby stopped bouncing. Boo stopped looping. A hush fell over the colorful room.
Oh dear, is the game broken?
Kirby wondered aloud. He tapped the side of the television gently, but it remained stubbornly, ominously dark. A strange feeling prickled the air. Then a shadow began to form. Not on the floor or the wall, but on the television screen itself. It started small, a tiny dark smudge. Then it grew, bigger and bigger. It stretched and it swirled. It took on a most unpleasant shape. It had 8 arms, long, wriggly arms, like a giant, monstrous octopus. But these arms were not soft. They looked hard and metallic and dreadfully strong. In the center of these 8 arms was a body, a big, square, clunky body. It had a door like an oven and 2 glowing red eyes. They stared out from the screen, menacing and angry. This was no ordinary octopus. This was no ordinary oven. It was something far, far worse. It was an octo-oven, a villainous contraption. A shiver went down Kirby's round back. The octo-oven filled the entire screen. Its shadow seemed to leak into the room, making the cheerful space feel cold and a little bit frightening. Kirby had faced many foes, Waddle-Dees and King Dedede, but this felt different. This felt hotter and much, much angrier. Boo hid just a little behind Kirby. He was a brave ghost, but this was unnerving, even for a creature of the night. A terrible sound rumbled forth, a deep, clanking, metallic rumble. It was a voice, a horrible, grating voice.
Mwahahaha!
It boomed. The sound vibrated through the floorboards. It rattled the pictures on the wall. Kirby jumped nearly out of his pink skin. Boo let out a tiny, ghostly squeak. An oven should not talk. Ever. Especially not with such a nasty laugh.
I am the Octo-Oven, ruler of all that is baked and boiled, and I have come to your little dreamland.
Kirby gulped. A very big gulp for such a small fellow. Boo peeked out from behind Kirby. His ghostly form flickered with nervousness. This Octo-Oven sounded terribly important, and terribly, terribly confident in its badness. This was not good news at all.
Your colorful world is far too fresh. It needs a little more heat, a little more crispiness. I am here to turn everything into one giant pizza.
A pizza world? Kirby blinked. He liked pizza, of course. Who didn't? But an entire world of it? That sounded rather messy, and alarmingly hot. Boo shivered, though ghosts don't usually feel temperature. The thought was simply too much.
Every tree a breadstick, every cloud a marshmallow topping, every hero a burnt pepperoni.
It let out another booming, metallic laugh. Kirby puffed up his cheeks. No one was going to turn him into a pepperoni, especially not a burnt one. Boo, seeing Kirby's determination, floated a bit straighter. They might be small, they might be scared, but they were heroes of Dreamland, and they would not let an oven bake their home. Just when things seemed most dire, a new sound joined the fray.
Woof woof! Arf arf!
It was a happy sound, a familiar sound. A small, fluffy tornado of fur burst through the door. It was Sketchy the Puppy. He was a scruffy little dog, mostly white with brown spots. He always had a bright red crayon tucked behind one ear. He loved adventures, and he loved his friends. He skidded to a halt on the colorful rug. His tail was wagging like a metronome gone wild. A happy, hopeful, helpful friend. Sketchy saw Kirby. He saw Boo. Their faces were usually full of smiles. Now they looked worried. Very worried.
What's wrong, pals? Did the mailman bring broccoli again?
That was Sketchy's idea of a true disaster. Kirby, still a bit shaky, pointed a stubby hand. He pointed towards the menacing television screen, where the Octo-Oven was still gloating. Sketchy's happy tail slowed its wagging. It drooped just a little. His puppy eyes widened. He saw the giant, metallic octopus thing. He heard the booming, unpleasant voice.
Oh, that's not broccoli.
He was a clever puppy. He understood. This was much, much worse than broccoli. This was a real, live, or perhaps real, unlive villain. A proper, world-threatening baddie. Just like in the stories Kirby sometimes told. But Sketchy was not just any puppy. He was a brave puppy. A resourceful puppy. He trotted over to stand beside Kirby and Boo. A small, united front.
Well, that Octo-Oven looks very mean.
And very, very hot.
We need to stop him!
Declared Kirby, finding his courage. Sketchy nodded.
You bet we do. What's the plan?
He was ready. Crayon at the ready. Friendship at the ready. To save Dreamland. Kirby knew what they had to do. This was no ordinary problem. This called for extraordinary measures.
He took a deep, deep breath. So deep, he puffed up. He focused all his heroic energy.
A bright, warm glow started to surround him. Pink light swirled and danced. He was changing, transforming. The air crackled with power. He became Fire Kirby. Flames flickered all around him. His eyes shone with a fiery determination. He was ready to turn up the heat on this villain.
Boo the ghost watched Kirby transform. He felt a surge of courage too. If Kirby could be brave, so could he.
Boo started to swirl and shimmer. His usual friendly white glow shifted. It became darker, more mysterious. Shadows seemed to cling to him. He grew slightly larger, more imposing. He became Dark Boo. His eyes glowed with a cool, spooky light. He let out a low, ghostly moan. Not a scared moan, but a battle-ready moan. A moan that said, "We mean business."
Sketchy? The puppy wagged his tail excitedly. This was amazing. His friends were superheroes. He wanted to be a superhero too.
He grabbed the red crayon from behind his ear. His tongue poked out in concentration. He began to draw furiously on his own chest. He drew a big, bold red S. Then he drew a magnificent flowing cape on his back. It was a crayon cape, of course, but in Sketchy's mind, it was real silk.
Ta-da! He barked. Super Sketchy is here. He struck a heroic, if slightly wobbly pose.
The three friends stood together. Fire Kirby crackling with flames. Dark Boo swirling with spooky shadows. Super Sketchy with his brave crayon cape. They looked quite a sight, a small but mighty team. The Octo-Oven on the screen paused its boasting. It seemed a little surprised. Perhaps it hadn't expected such spirited resistance from such a small, fluffy, and round trio, but it quickly regained its metallic composure.
Insignificant puffs, you cannot stop me, it roared.
The Octo-Oven did not wait. Its giant oven door creaked open with a groan. A fiery orange glow spilled out.
Ah, my cheesy surprise?
Then with a mighty whoosh, it attacked. Hot, bubbling cheese sauce shot out from the oven. It splattered against the wall. Sizzle, pop! Fire Kirby was too quick. He dodged to the side. He inhaled deeply and then, whoomph! He blasted a stream of fireballs at the screen. The fireballs hit the metallic arms of the Octo-Oven. Sparks flew. Clang! Bang! Dark Boo, now fearless, swooped into action. He flew right through the streams of hot cheese. Being a ghost, it mostly passed through him, though it did make him smell faintly of cheddar. He let out his spookiest, most terrifying moan. Whoa! The Octo-Oven's red eyes flickered. It had never been spooked by a ghost before. It found it rather unsettling.
Stop that dreadful noise.
Dark Boo just moaned louder, enjoying himself. Super Sketchy saw his chance. His crayon was his mighty weapon. He quickly drew a giant, powerful water pistol. It appeared in his paws, magically real. He aimed carefully at the Octo-Oven.
Take this, you overgrown toaster!
Squish! Sploosh! A jet of cool water hit the Octo-Oven. Right on its hot, metallic face, steam hissed everywhere. Sss.
Water my only weakness, besides good taste?
It was a chaotic, wonderful, messy battle. Fireballs zipped through the air. Ghostly wails filled the room. Streams of water met streams of cheese. The living room was a glorious disaster zone. But Kirby, Boo, and Sketchy were working together. Fire Kirby kept the Octo-Oven distracted. Dark Boo confused its sensors with his ghostly antics. Super Sketchy kept up a steady stream of water. The Octo-Oven was starting to look stressed, and a little bit rusty in places. Its metallic arms flailed wildly. This was not going according to its evil plan at all. The Octo-Oven was getting very cross, and very, very soggy. Its cheese sauce was diluted. Its flames were sputtering.
You pesky little puffball. You bothersome bedsheet. You doodling dog.
It shrieked, its voice cracking like heated glass. It tried to launch another barrage of burnt breadsticks, but only a sad, damp crouton plopped out. Fire Kirby saw his opportunity. This was it. He gathered all his fiery energy. He aimed for the Octo-Oven's main thermostat, a small glowing dial on its chest.
One super hot special coming right up.
Dark Boo knew just what to do to help. He swooped towards the thermostat dial. Using his ghostly powers, he made it spin. Around and around, faster and faster. The Octo-Oven's temperature controls went haywire. One moment it was freezing cold, the next scorching hot.
My settings, my precious preheat functions.
It wailed. It was thoroughly confused and disoriented. Dark Boo giggled a spooky, satisfied giggle. This was much more fun than just saying boo. Teamwork made the dream work, or in this case, the takedown. Super Sketchy had one final, brilliant idea. He quickly sketched a very large, old-fashioned plug, the kind with big prongs. Then, with a heroic tug, he drew the Octo-Oven's power cord. Right out of the back of the television, there was a loud zap, a fizzle, a pop. A shower of harmless sparks flew from the screen. The Octo-Oven shuddered violently. Its red eyes flickered one last time. Then it began to shrink, smaller and smaller, until it was just a tiny, normal toaster oven, sitting innocently on the floor, completely defeated. The terrible booming voice was gone. The menacing red eyes were dark. The 8 metallic arms had vanished. All that remained was a slightly damp, very small toaster oven. It looked rather embarrassed, if an appliance could. The threat was over. Dreamland was safe. The room was quiet again, save for the drip, drip, drip of water, and the faint smell of cheese and victory. Our heroes had done it. They had faced the mighty Octo-Oven, and they had won with courage and cleverness. The fiery glow around Kirby faded. He was back to his usual pink, round self. He let out a happy poyo. The spooky shadows around Boo dissolved. He became a friendly, translucent ghost again. He did a joyful little wiggle in the air. Super Sketchy's crayon cape vanished. He was once more Sketchy the Puppy. His tail wagged so hard his whole body wiggled. He still clutched his trusty red crayon. A hero always keeps his tools handy. They all looked at the tiny toaster oven. It sat humbly on the patterned rug. It didn't look so scary anymore. In fact, it looked a bit cute. A cheer went up from the 3 friends.
We did it!
Hooray for us.
Woof, woof, best adventure ever.
He dropped his crayon and did a little victory dance. A sort of happy puppy hop. It was very endearing. They gathered together for a group hug. It was a slightly awkward hug. Kirby was very round, Boo was very floaty. Sketchy was very wiggly. But it was the best kind of hug. A hug full of friendship and shared triumph.
Your fireballs were amazing, Kirby.
And Dark Boo was super spooky.
Super Sketchy's water pistol saved the day.
They all felt very proud of each other, and very proud of their fantastic teamwork. The living room was a bit of a mess. There were scorch marks. There were water puddles. There was definitely a lingering aroma of cheese, but no one minded very much. It was the happy mess of a battle well fought, and a villain thoroughly vanquished. They knew they would clean it up later, together of course, because that's what friends do. For now, it was time to celebrate. Perhaps with some non-Pizza World snacks, like cookies, or a nice juicy apple. The little toaster oven sat quietly. It didn't make a sound, not even a tick. Kirby picked it up carefully. It felt warm, but not in a scary way.
Maybe it can make us some nice normal toast now.
Boo giggled his ghostly giggle.
As long as it doesn't try to toast the whole house.
Sketchy wagged his tail in agreement. Toast sounded like a very good idea after all that excitement, especially with a little bit of jam. Their big adventure with the Octo-Oven was over. The danger had passed. Dreamland was safe once more, but the feeling of excitement lingered. They were still best friends. The very best. And they knew this wouldn't be their last adventure. Oh no, not by a long shot. What would they do tomorrow? They wondered. Perhaps another thrilling game of Splatoon, to try and beat their high score yet again. Or maybe, just maybe, a new villain would appear. A mischievous cloud, or a grumpy giant turnip. They rather hoped so, in a way. Not that they wished for trouble, of course, but they did enjoy a good challenge and they loved working together. Fire Kirby, Dark Boo, Super Sketchy. They were a team, a formidable team, ready for whatever fun or frights came their way. They would always protect Dreamland, and they would always protect each other. That was the most important thing of all. Their friendship was their greatest power. So as the afternoon sun began to set, casting long, playful shadows across the messy room, our three heroes felt happy and content. They had faced a fearsome cheese-shooting Octo-Oven, and they had turned it into a harmless kitchen gadget. Together, they knew they could face anything. Any monster, any menace, any Monday morning. They were Kirby, Boo, and Sketchy, and they were always ready for adventure, always ready for fun, and always friends. The very best kind of always.